What is happening, everybody? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Acknowledge Him podcast. We are your hosts, Avedon and Yofi Smith, and we are here to talk about this topic. It's a little bit different than what we normally talking about, but it's going to be on more so a Christian perspective of the rapper Dee-1, and he is proving that hip hop isn't exactly dead. And I know some of you are thinking, like, how is one person doing that? But before we get into all the questions, before we get into the rah rah about this whole entire conversation, there's one thing that we all need to do before we get started. Can
Change
we?
the name.
Can we acknowledge him? Before we get started with anything, before we talk about anything, can we acknowledge God today? Can we acknowledge him?
Come on.
Because without him, there there wouldn't be anything without him. So let's acknowledge him as we move forward. So, all right. So people will come when they can. So with that being said, I really want to go into this because this is a topic that I felt we could have a little bit more fun with, and we could give a perspective that some people may not be used to hearing. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with D1 is D1. Just so, for those of you who don't know his backstory, one, he is a Christian. As I look more into, I want to see. And the question is, I hate that this is. I hate, I hate that this is a thing. 'Cause I'm only saying this for those of you who don't know D1. I hate this is a thing. Wait, intros. Wait, hold on. What happened?
You good?
Oh, you good? You go ahead. Go ahead. I thought we did intros already.
No, I was just asking how you were doing. Like, I wanted to see how you were doing first before we got right into the topic.
Oh no, my bad. See, I love the accountability. No, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How are you doing? You see, my mindset because what you told me about your phone beforehand, I zoned right in. I was like, let me not waste no time for my brother and everything because I know you got some gems to share with this, so I didn't want to waste any time with that. But I'm good, and I appreciate that. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right. I just didn't. I don't care about my what. For those of you who may not know, if you don't see my screen, it's because I'm using something's going on where I live, and the internet is really shutting down. So I'm kind of just drove off to some semblance of town, and I'm using my phone. That's why you don't see me. So my brother here is just trying to go directly into business, skipping the intros. So I was just like, no, I don't care. I'm gonna ask him how he's doing. I want to see what's going on. Because look, that's what it's about, you guys. It's about building up brotherhood, and before you get into anything that's like what's out there, let's talk about what's going on in here. So I just
Absolutely.
I appreciate them, and I just want to let that be known, so that anybody else can follow that example. Always check up on people because you never know what we're going through. So I just asked him how he was doing, just to kind of clear that up.
Absolutely, bro. I
I was
appreciate
trying
that
to do it on
because
the sneak. I was trying to send you like a little text, just to, hey man, look, intro, how you doing? What's up? Just to
when I'm
that.
when I'm live and I'm talking and it flashed on my screen, so I was like, wait a sec, did I miss something? Because when you said that, I'm like, you know what? Yo, we could talk to each other or messenger and everything. When you get home, we could always when we start talking and catching up, we go into one topic to the next, and then we probably won't even address the whole topic. But now, I do appreciate that, man. Yeah, like let me now you got me going to stick on that point. Like, really checking on your peoples. Like, it does not hurt to, and I'm not gonna even say a text. We got technology. Leave your peoples a voice note. Like if they're your peoples. Now if you're not that close, you might want to text them first. But if they're your peoples, leave them a voice note, check in on them, seeing how they're doing. They'll appreciate it. Trust me. All right, but did you have anything you want to add before I go in? Because I'm about to go in with this one. We're about to go. In.
Go in. You know more about this topic than I do. You know I'm always going to try and hit something from the side.
Okay, cool. So a little background about this artist D1. Now I've seen a lot of his things. A few of my friends, shout out to Curtis King, has shared some of his stuff, and I've got to hear his perspective. I got to hear him call out the hypocrisy of hip hop and many other different things. And for those of you who don't know D1, he is he is what you would classify a rapper that is a Christian. And I wouldn't necessarily say a Christian rapper because some of his songs may not fit into the traditional sense of what Christian rap is. But his character though is what strikes me more interesting though, because his background is he was a school teacher, and he was working on his career when no one was watching. But what made him want to go out and pursue what he was doing out the most is when one of his eighth graders, he was a middle school teacher. One of his eighth graders came in with MOB tatted on his arm. If you don't
Wow.
know what MOB is money over, you know. So he's like, wait, where did you get that? He could tell, look at the child's eyes, that he didn't know what that meant. But that child's favorite rapper was Lil Wayne. He's trying to be more like Lil Wayne. So he said from that point, he says teaching in the classroom is not enough to reach them. He says I need to be able to use that platform. And he says he's had near death experiences. He's had run-ins with different people where he could have lost his life. But one of the things that he did now, he took it a little step further. He still teaches, but he's not only a rapper, but he's also a Harvard professor on top of that. So where you put all these things together, it makes you think. People think when you're in hip hop, you have to be a performer. You have to be somebody who goes and gets a Grammy, gets all these different things. But at its roots, that's never what it was about. It was about the bringing together and the betterment of African Americans in intersection neighborhoods that were not privileged to get the best of the best because of racism. Well, excuse me, not racism. Let me correct that. Segregation just ending 10 years prior. Because in 1964 was when segregation ended. 1974 is when hip hop started. So just 10 years later. And at that root, you had people who were more so focused about, let's provide more than just dance to our hood. Dance is good, but let's provide business. Let's provide entrepreneurs. Let's help actually teach these children that you don't need to sell drugs in order to be successful. So his route wasn't the superstar route. His route was, no, he still has a traditional job where he's set for life. He's working because he wants to, not because he has to.
Mm.
And that put a spin on it. Like when he raps to put out a song, it's not because he needs the money. It's because he has something that he knows that needs to be said. So anything he puts out is never from the premise of him needing money. And that is what made me say this is someone that is proof that this art of hip hop is not dead, because that's where it started. Should you get paid for your craft? Yes. Y'all know I will always say that. But the fact that he is doing it, he doesn't need to, that says a lot. That says a
Motive.
lot. Huh?
It speaks to your motives,
It does.
because money is a big thing. When someone needs money, at that point, what are you willing to do to get money? So if we get caught up in life many times, we're people. So if your bills aren't paid, or if there's debt, things like that, there's a temptation to sometimes, do things that you don't particularly care for, that you wouldn't want your kids to see. A lot of people are caught up in a lot of sinful actions because the love of money, and I'll even say the fear of not having of not having that. So it speaks to someone's character when I don't need your money. They're doing that, and you have to now question, you have to ask yourself, why is this person doing this? Because if they don't need the money, then they might actually, their heart might actually be in it to help. So there could be other reasons, also nefarious reasons, why a person is doing it, because let's say that it's not about money. There could be a type of sexual kind of connotation involved that you would have to be aware of. However, in terms of that's what I look at, and I got to bring the faith in. So look at the apostles, talking about Jesus being raised from the dead. They didn't get money for this, right? So they're not doing it for money, because you couldn't get, it wasn't like America where preaching could be a second job for you. It's not like that. They didn't get any girls. It's not about the women, right? They didn't get that. And they didn't get power and prestige and popularity. So those three things can speak to the motives of a person when they're not getting that. If this person, if he is not doing this for money, I'd also ask, is he doing this for the women, or is he doing it for the glory? Those are the three G's: the girls, the gold, the glory. And if none of those three are involved, I say we need to listen to what this man has to say.
So with his record checks out so far, that it's, I'll say on record. I don't know about what's going behind the scenes, but on record, his belief is being more traditional when it comes to men, because that's what he grew up with, was seeing his mother and his father and his grandmother and his grandfather. His mother and father been together for 40 years. Grandmother and grandfather 60 years. So it's
Mhm.
like he grew up traditionally. He grew up in that, with that, he has that thing. And from his school, he said he almost got roped into the drug life and everything as a child, but he actually won a contest as a child where he actually got to go to Ghana at the age of 13.
Cool.
So it's like, it's there's a lot of morals and everything. You could tell, like, and there's a lot of morals there, because in an interview when it come to girls and everything, he mentioned two things that I said I really respected. One thing is, because one person, the interviewer, asked him, but is it a problem for, a guy if he just wants to lay up with a girl, and it's like, it's, do what you do. And he says, you see, we often have selective outrage when it comes to that, because you may not be outraged with you doing it, but let that be your mother, your sister, anybody else. How would you
Yep.
feel? So
Getting into that, I could go on that. I'm going to try and stay on topic, but my thoughts about those types of things.
exactly. So it's like his mindset is like, if I wouldn't want it to be done with to my mother, my sister, anybody else, I don't want to glorify it and everything. And in many things, it's like, in terms of the glory, I will say that's something that I would probably have to know him personally. But off just seeing every time, he's always directing things back to God and being in full alignment with God. It's like he even asks, it's like, at the end of the day, he refers to, who is your North Star and everything. 'Cause he's from New Orleans, Louisiana. So he said, who is your North Star? He said a lot of people, if fame is your North Star, it's like, and what idol do you have? At the end of the day, if it's not God, then what's revealed is your idol that's above everything else. So then again, it's like, it's hard for me to see. It's like, I'm like, yo, from the looks of it, he's solid. From from the looks of it, he's pretty solid, and it's like he's proving. Well, I think hip hop is not dead, because it's about being who you are, being who you truly are. And to the checks off, he's checking off to who he truly is, because he's not living from an image or something that he built up. it's like he got serious to the part. Like he said the moment he almost lost his life, it's like one. He said there was these guys that thought that him and his friends. They asked did they see who robbed one of their friends' car, and they said no, they didn't see nothing. So two of the guys said, "All right, cool," but one of the guys didn't believe in them, so they pulled out a gun and held it to his head, and then it wasn't for one girl who saw it, and she said, "Oh my god!" And then the guys ran because that was a witness. But he said from that day forward, I chose I'm going to live fully for God, and just whether I'm alive 1 week from now or 30 years from now, I want to make sure that I live in accordance to that. So it's like, and then he followed up. He said, "Am I saying you need a near death experience to get to that place? No, but that's what it was for him." So it's like I can't say, it's hard to say. It's like, is it on the glory end, because this is somebody who almost did lose his life, but it's like if you mix that with the morals he lives, I could clearly see, like,
Yeah.
you matter of fact, you could testify with you. It's like how that was changing for you. It's like, were you almost gone on this side of Earth?
Yeah,
Things
this
get
is
put in
still what we
perspective
call,
real
you
fast,
know,
huh?
so with that, because it could be very broad and we could be talking about him, but we want to talk about how is
Go for
basically
it.
about how hip hop is not dead. Now, if anybody who knows me knows that I am not a hip hop fan. It doesn't. I've never really been much of a hip hop fan. I did even when I was in the world. I did listen to some. I've kind of steered clear, but it's because of the message. Now, when we think about what mainstream, and it's not just hip hop. So people look at it like, oh, you're against the black community or anything like that. And I was like, me not supporting modern day hip hop is not the same thing as me not supporting people, because it's about the message. First we talk about the motives, and you're talking about how, like, you gave his testimony for all of us, right? And now let's talk about the message that he is spreading, the message in mainstream, not just hip hop, but a lot of music that I don't listen to. I don't listen to modern day rhythm and blues. When you think about R&B, it's supposed to stand for rhythm and blues. There's no rhythm and there's no blues in it. It's just like
Mm-mm.
lust, so I'm not going to support sinful things, and as Christians, it's like, oh, you can't have fun. Well, I don't need to do that to have fun. I was just, and
There
I
you
want to
go.
relate to hip hop. I want to give a testimony. I was at work and there were some of the guys, they were asking about it, about actually going to, and this might be, you know, a little mature for some people. So cover the kids' ears, but they were asking why I would not go to a strip club for the social aspect of things. You're not going there to try and do this. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that because in my marriage, well, what if your wife asked to go out? I was like, I would say no, because I'm thinking of the long game, right? Right, with marriage. I know this is going to tie into hip hop. Trust me, I'm going somewhere.
Go for it.
But
I know. I have an idea where you go with this. Go for it.
yeah, I'm thinking of the long game, right? I'm thinking of, if I am determined to have my marriage last to where my wife and I grow old and we're happy together, then me looking at another woman with an intent to lust, I was just like, it's not even if I wanted to be Christian. I was like, I don't have to bring my Christianity in it. You have to understand that men are men and women are women. So if I am going to look at women that are doing things that I know are not appropriate even in our marriage, right? Because they're going to be doing things at this club and all types of things. What that does is that plays on your mind. Now you want
Hmm.
these types of things in your marriage. You will want this to happen, or it's you're putting yourself in situations that would cause you to be tempted. And even if you win today, you got to remember that your marriage is supposed to last 50, 60, 70 years. So why put yourself in fights that you don't have to be in? Because no matter what you say about yourself, you're not going to win them all. You're not going to win every single fight if you have to fight
especially
every single day. So with
especially if
that
you're
said,
putting yourself in the fight.
especially putting yourself in the fight, so I'm like, knowing that there are certain things, and they were starting to understand, like some of the guys, they were respecting it, like so I was just like, so knowing that you got to play smart. This is, I know you guys call it the game, so I was like, so you got to know how this game works. I was like, I've been married a long time, so I'm not going to watch things with my eyes that are going to purposely put me in battles that I don't need to be in. Likewise, now I'm going to relate it to hip hop. The message that hip hop is spreading in modern day are things of lust, are things of vanity, right? Give me the money. I'm a god. All these things. They've got women half dressed. They call them all types of names, call men all types of N words, and there's B words and all types of things that are not conducive to the life of someone who must sacrifice. That's what love is, the self-sacrificial love of God. So if my life is based on the self-sacrificial love of God, why would I listen to anyone who's lifting themselves up all the time, belittling women all the time, right? Talking about giving drugs? That's tearing down the community. That's the exact opposite of what hip hop was talking about decades ago, right? So
Hmm.
modern day hip hop, I don't want anything to do with it. And then they're like, well, there's good Christian hip hop. And if you listen to even many, I'm not going to say most, but a lot of Christian
Many,
hip hop
yeah.
is still about exalting the person.
Yourself.
It's about self. And I'm like, you can't self-sacrifice and also glorify yourself. So, it's the opposite of Christ's message. So I'm not really into it. That's not saying that there aren't people who are sincere. So that's why when you brought this topic up, as far as this guy, that's why I asked you about it. I know you told me about him earlier, but I wanted you to give the testimony live here so that people can see, like, look, it's not necessarily the style of music, right? It's the message. And what message is he sending? And that's why we have this topic going all back to it. He said, you're proving that hip hop is not dead, because if the message is about building your community, if it's about loving your wife, it's about raising your children, it's about integrity, it's not about how many women you get. It's about, are you faithful and loyal to the woman that you've got? If this is the message
Hmm.
that you're spreading, then this is something that is sorely lacking in the African American community. And it's also lacking in just for the men, period. We got a lot of jellyback men out there. So that's why I was willing. You were like, let's talk about this. I was like, I don't know this guy, but everything that you're saying and what I'm hearing, I was like, this is something that we should be talking about, because it's not just hip hop. It is the fact that there's a message in what he's saying. And I think that we should all be discussing that.
I think so too, because it's like when you look at when you get to see how people react, it's like the people bring him on. Like, mind you, he's being brought on to secular media interviews. So it's like, if this brings me back to King Solomon. King Solomon working with the Queen of Sheba and everything, he stayed who he was. And I think that's why it's like, you also too, what I've also learned, unfortunately, is you have to give things time and not try to call things too early. And that's why I said I want to give this time and everything. But right now, the fact that this is where he's at right now, more people can come up now more than ever, because the music is no longer gated by gatekeepers anymore. This is where I'm getting at. If those of you who saw my live yesterday, Universal Music Group pulled their music from TikTok. So now there's independent artists who have a platform where they could basically push out. Now that of course is going to get a lot of media, that a lot of messages that is not good. But what about the people who do have good messages now?
Yeah.
Now that is available to the people who have a message that will actually impact people in a heartfelt way. this is something that I believe is worth noting. It's worth seeing, and I like it. I like seeing stuff like this. I like talking about stuff like this because for y'all, for those of you who don't know much on my end, it's like I grew up with a heavy hip hop background, especially in college, to the point where I actually studied it. I actually even took a class on it. So I studied history when it comes to hip hop, and I started drawing connections and parallels from centuries ago to hip hop because a lot of history has a habit of repeating itself. And in a lot of cases, this is where you mentioned it earlier, but the love of money is the root of all evil, right? I
Oh,
will say, huh?
all kinds of evil. Not every evil, but all
All
kinds.
kinds of evil. Yeah, all kinds, all types, all kinds of evil, right? Because that's what all means in that context. It means all kinds of evil, right? Here's the thing: when you look at the love of money, what that did in the case with hip hop, it brought people. Excuse me, it brought people with a choice that they weren't used to seeing. They were could you imagine people who probably weren't used to seeing X amount of money, and now you see hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars thrown in front of them, and say, "Hey, this is yours. Just let us do this and this and this with your music." If
Mm-hmm.
you're somebody who is caught up in poverty and just want a way out,
That will be very
nine
appealing.
times nine times out of ten, if you aren't married, you would find every justification to make the decision, and you even justify how wrong it would be to not make that type of decision.
You're
And
putting
that's
yourself
why the love of money is the root of it's the root of all kinds of evils because even though it could be morally wrong and demoralizing to us a different group of people, as long as you're okay, and as long as everybody else is okay, it's okay. So that's where I wanted
and
to bring.
I want to hit
Go
on
ahead.
something that's important, and there's what I've really I don't want to seem disingenuous, but when it says that you prove that hip hop is not dead, it proves that a lot of create content creation is not dead, because something
There
that
you
was
go.
said to me when I was interviewing um, Dallas Jenkins, of the creator of The Chosen. He told me something. He gave me some advice, and we're both content creators. Um, I got to show you something too after the stream. You're gonna love it as to what we're doing, what I'm
Okay.
doing with the book. I'll announce it at the end. But he told me that Hollywood does not have to lower its golden scepter of approval for Christians anymore. You know, we can create content without having to go through the door and the filter of Hollywood. And I believe what he was telling me was that you can create content that doesn't have to have sex scenes in it. You can create
Hmm.
content that doesn't have to have language in it. You can create
Hmm.
content, and we actually have the power is being given to the people. So, and I know that people may not be fans of The Chosen. I understand that. I'm not asking you to be a fan of The Chosen. We've already talked about that many times. It's not particularly my cup of tea. The thing is that I think that compared to shows that are like My Two Dads, I think that The Chosen is a much better choice. What I am saying is that he's right. You know, he's right in a sense of, we do not need to have these mainstream artists, and that's the only thing that you can do. You can create your own. So if you want to create something, hip hop does not need to be about, because hip hop, if you're not spreading that popular message of women are bees, and men are ends, and all of these things, if you aren't spreading that message, you're not going to sell, because no one's going to endorse you. But guess what? Now you have the number one rap song in America is featuring Ben Shapiro. He's not even a rapper. I listened to the song. I was like, this is hilarious. What is this? I just listened to it just because I don't follow. I'm not subscribed to Daily Wire or anything like that. But I was just like, what is all this stuff popping up? And
It was ridiculous enough for you to check it out, which is why it's number one rap song in America. It was so ridiculous that I had to check this out.
yeah, and it's got
Marketing,
nothing
y'all.
to do with mainstream hip hop. It's actually against it. So I'm looking and I'm like, now anybody can do anything. The problem comes in, and this is like, you call it prophetic if you want. It's not going to last forever, because pretty
Nope.
soon these independent artists are going to get back on top, and then when they're on top, that's going to be the mainstream message until another shift happens. So right now, granted, hip hop is not dead, and I recommend that every Christian create content everywhere. You've got a comic book that you want to release it. You've got a movie that you want to do it. You can film a movie on your iPhone right now. Okay. Matter of fact, don't Samsung phones have like better cameras and stuff now anyway than iPhone? I mean, you could do anything right now and prove that the original message of bringing people together, right? I'm not talking about Tower of Babel bringing people together, but actually
Well, we
helping
don't even
the
do that there.
community and all of these things. They're not dead. So, we can actually do this if we focus and not just take this time to just sit and listen to secular artists all day and secular YouTube channels and watch Hollywood movies and the woke agenda. We don't have to actually cave into that. This guy is proving it. Dee-1. He's
I want to say some. I want to say something because, like, here's the thing. When you said like we could really create, I wanted to really draw perspective. Paul's letters were, oh, this is gonna be a good analogy. Paul's letters is what many would call today in hip hop underground mixtapes. And Paul's letters, it wasn't for everyone. Paul's letters weren't mainstream. Did y'all catch that? When Paul wrote those letters, they were specifically for a certain group of people. They became mainstream 300 years later. And
I,
they even
I despise that analogy just right now.
and because you know it's right. You know it's right. You know it's right.
I'm just letting you know. I didn't say that it wasn't right. I said I despise it.
It's literally the same as underground mixtapes. It's like, almost no one knows about it back then. Only a set group of people, and now the hundreds to thousands of years later, those letters are in the book, the most purchased book of all time. Like, think about that for a second. Letters that were almost specifically for a set church became part of the most purchased book of all time thousands of years later. So you may think what you're working on now is insignificant and is not that big of a deal, whereas what you're working on now may be so huge long after you're gone from here. But here's the thing. This goes back to that third G. If God is the one who gets the glory for it, why not be someone who's part of something way bigger than yourself? Because we know Paul's name for 2,000 years ago. We know Jesus' name from 2,000 years ago. We know John. We know all the apostles' names from 2,000 years ago. But do we know any music artist that was doing the blues even 60 years ago? You see where I'm going with this? About the shelf life? About the shelf life? We can't even remember certain blues artists 60 years ago. And there's written stuff about them on the line. But we can know stuff about somebody 2,000 years ago? So here's the thing. your life is made to have impact.
I like that.
And
I,
if
I I
you're,
I never looked at it that way.
it's like if you are allowing yourself to be used by God, the impact that you make, it may not be felt in the moment, but if you did things according to what He said, I promise your impact will be felt later on. And God is so is God is the barometer. He is the standard of integrity. He cites his sources. They still got credited for what they did. Even though he got the glory, he still credits them.
That is true.
I don't know. That's why I said that's why I love this topic, because to rope this back towards hip hop, we don't remember every last artist, right? But we remember the ones that had a message and that had impact. I'm going to say this right now. I do not support. Oops. I do not support 99% of what this artist said. Rather, he passed away a long time ago. I don't support half of what he said, but I felt bad for his situation, and that's Tupac. Anyone that could see Tupac's earliest videos, where he was doing like arts and crafts, ballet. Like he was in Baltimore in the School of Arts of Ballet and everything, and that's what he was growing. He was into. He was more so focused on being a creative growing up at that time, and because he got into rap, he had to project himself in order to be respected in that community.
Yeah.
He had to project himself a certain way. And here's the thing: people's perception, people's perception people's perception of here's the thing: people will project what they perceive about themselves. So if he sees that I have to perceive myself as something, then I'm going to project myself into in the same light.
It's like
You
acting.
exactly. You will project what you perceive about yourself. And if you feel as though I have to see myself as a thug, then I'm going to project myself that way. But you go back to when he was 18, I guarantee when you ask him the question as an 18, what do you want to be 10 years from now? He wouldn't have said a rapper.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, you can take that and go a lot further. Like, for instance, with how many people get caught up in jobs that they hate. When they were a little kid,
Come on.
who as a child, who in their kindergarten class grows up and says that they want to take their clothes off for money? Like,
Come
nobody
on
in my
now.
world says that. It Some
Come
things
on.
happen to people, and I'm not downing uh uh Tupac or anybody, or if you've
You're not.
had experiences that have caused you to do certain things. But yes, these things do have an impact, and that's why when you talk about going back to the current state of hip hop, even that, it's caused, money and all of these things have caused it to become something that in your infant stages you never would have dreamed. So you have to, like Cain and Abel, like, if you're on a certain path, you're doomed from the start, Cain. You're modeling your life after something that's going to lead you down, maybe not today, but by the time you get older, you're going to be somewhere where you don't even recognize. You know, take that for, and I know that this is not that it's hip hop, but it's all related. I even look at the current state of. I know that my guys are going to get on me. Even video games, the
Go for it.
way that they were, I'll say 30 years ago. No, I'm not just old. Video games have changed. It's not about creating a game that's enjoyable. What are the people really going to like? It's what is going to gain the millions of sales. That's what this is. That's what it is. And to show that, just look at, and this is how you talk about how hip hop has evolved, even video games. You know, when you look at Super Smash Brothers, I got to use this because it's one of the
Go
top.
for it.
And Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 64 was not about competition, competitive tournaments, and all of these things. It was about kids getting together and looking at Mario punch Pikachu and Samus, you know, all of that. It was just about pure, unadulterated fun. Then the next game, they're like, oh, we're going to add some more characters because this is serious. And then Wave Dancing, which was an accident, right?
I don't have it near me.
You're
I
trying
was going to look for I thought I had a GameCube controller nearby, so I can say you're just coming out and say you don't want the GameCube controller. It's okay.
But think about it, you know, like you've got wave dashing and all this, and now you've got tournaments with a game that was made to be a party game. And then they come out with Brawl, and people don't like it. Why? Because of the tournament aspect. It's no longer about having fun. You know? But then they try to make Smash 4 more about the tournament type thing.
You hate this controller. You hate this controller. Just say it.
I didn't break it yet. The way that video game ages and it's called Smash Ultimate. They literally put like 100 some characters in this game, right? What is it, like 80 characters or something?
Oh my gosh, I lost count.
It's a game that's supposed to be about fun, but you've got I'm gonna pick Steve from Minecraft because he breaks this, and it's just about winning and it's about competition.
Or pick Sephiroth. You pick Kazuya.
Yeah,
Terry Bogard.
I mean, what happened to Mario in a game with Pikachu and Kirby, and that is hilarious? No, now we've got Simon Belmont, Kazuya, you know, Terry, Cloud, Sephiroth. You know, like we're just gonna put anybody in there. Whoever sells, whatever makes the most money, that's what we're going to do. So it's like that with many games. You look at Street Fighter and all this. How many microtransactions can we get? How many, you know, like Sega tried to do it. We're gonna have a game with Supersonic in it, but you're gonna have to pay for that. That's DLC. You know, like it's become more of, if this doesn't make money, then we're not actually going to have a good product. And that's what hip hop is. It's like it's what is making the most money, and the debauchery and sin makes a lot of money. So whenever something gets big like that, I think we have to be very aware, and that's why I pull out of those types of things. That's why I don't play games like I used to, because it's whatever's making the most money, not what it's going, even at the detriment of your relationship with Christ. We don't care. We're going to put that in our hip hop. We're going to put that in our R&B. We're going to put that in our movies, our TV shows, our video games, all of that. So it's just like, I understand when it's like you're in the world, but you're not of the world. It doesn't mean that you can't play a video game. It just means think of the content of what you're listening to, of what you're looking at. Think of the content of what you're listening to, whether it's hip hop or not. Think of the message that this is sending. Could you play this in front of your 5-year-old? You know, so it's like, could you play this hip hop in front of the kids? Well, yeah, I can. And look at what happens to the kids who grow up listening to that. You know, so it's like, we have to consider hip hop, maybe not the message that was originally intended, but yeah, hip hop is pretty much dead. Thank goodness for people who understand that I'm going to use my creativity even in a hip hop urban style, and I'm going to glorify God, and I'm going to send a message to kids about becoming better than who you are, as opposed to everybody look at me, I need validation, I need women to be around. I'm going to throw money so that everybody is constantly looking at me. You know, like I really appreciate that people would start to catch that message in whatever they do, and not give in to the oh my goodness, I hate to use this term, but the corporate fat cats. I saw that on TV one time. I had to use the term. You know,
Yeah. So I was first of all, one, I was gonna say, yo, we supposed to have another guest, and he couldn't show up, so that was fun. But I want to start wrapping it up because I know you are. Before we go over, I want to start saying we can start wrapping it up. Yeah, I do want to pose one question to you. Do you think that this could be the start of something new, the start of something great? Like, do you think with him actually publicly calling out um, different artists, publicly saying it's like, no, this is not okay, even to a point, even publicly calling out Lecrae on a few instances? Do you think that this could be the start of something new, and do you think that he's modeling, to the best of his degree, of true manhood in the body of Christ, but also too that if there was a root of hip hop being good, then if and hear me when I say this, if there was a root of it being good, Max, I know I'm asking you about three questions at once. I'm gonna give you the floor for all three. If there was a root of hip hop being good at one point, then was God originally supposed to be there in the first place? And I'm gonna drop the mic there.
tough questions. So let's deal with each one at a time. So as far as can it be good? I think anything can be good, right? If done in certain ways. I'm not one for calling out. You know that. I used to be that type. I'm not now. And the reason for that is because, it can kind of be divisive, you know, because there are a lot of people who follow, let's say, Lecrae. I don't follow Lecrae either. I'm not, you know, neither here nor there. But the thing is that the people who do follow Lecrae usually attach themselves in a way that's unhealthy, right? Like, for instance, if you've got people who try to shout out The Chosen, and you're not shouting them out in a way of, I saw this, and it is a concern of mine, and I want to pray about it because these are my brothers and sisters. No, you shout out like John the Baptist, and you're wrong, you're sinful, you're like this. And when I think about it, think about how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Why didn't he raise John the Baptist? Why didn't he do that? Wasn't that his cousin? Well, he had to decrease so that Jesus could increase. Oh, but Lazarus had to increase? No. Jesus raising John the Baptist from the dead would have sent out a political message that would have had flat out war breaking, because John the Baptist was killed because of his mouth, right? And I'm not saying that John the Baptist was wrong. I'm not saying that what he said was wrong, but I think Jesus has to consider more than just the fact that John the Baptist was right in what he said. The way that John the Baptist went about the situation by calling someone out who's not a Jew, not even a Jew. Why are you calling him out for not following the 10 commandments that weren't even given to him? Well, it doesn't matter. That's morally wrong. I get it, John. I get it. But that's not even a fight. That you did not die for preaching that Jesus is the Christ. You died for calling people out and trying to correct them. So, I'm not really one for the whole exposing thing. However, if Dee-1 is talking about from a man's perspective, this is what a man is called to, and I believe that my brothers can step it up. I don't look at that as calling a person out on their sin so much as calling them up. So, I do believe that it can be good, but not in the way that John the Baptist did it. Just saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. God's going to judge. Chosen, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. So I think that just causes too much arguing and fighting, and we're not getting the point of praying for our brothers and sisters. So you've got that. The second part was repeat that question when you were talking about. You're muted.
So that was the second question. The first one was more like with Dee-1 calling out more so he is touching it. Is this what it means? Is this the start of something good? Could this be the start of something? More so is what he doing, can this outlast him? Like the example that he's setting. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that in doing this, in taking hip hop in a direction that is against the mainstream, you know, he's not doing the look or getting the tone of aggression and negativity, things like that. You know, I'm from Chicago. I don't care. Like, what does that matter? You know, like if someone who is white says I'm from Chicago, then there's nothing. But someone who's black, I'm from Chicago. Now you're imparting fear. To me, that's the hip hop.
I'm from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm from New York. What does that mean? Like, you know, so I'm not for that portrayal. However, if you're taking this and you're like, I can use this I'm not going to say medium, but this creativity, because you
Here
have
comes
people who are
Jacob.
good at it, right? And then what's up, Vegeta? You've got a form. Who is that?
That is Jacob.
Yeah, so
That
yeah,
is Jacob.
using that creativity in a way that can also inspire others, because I believe that, you know, by you shining your light, it gives people the opportunity to shine theirs. So you have a lot of people who have talent, who are poetic, you know, who are not doing anything because they feel that if they so much as do any kind of rap, even if it's on about Jesus, that you have to sound this way. Well, no, I'm glad that there's somebody who's breaking that concept that no, you do not have to have your jeans sagging. You do not have to talk about women. You do not have to uplift yourself as a god. You can actually praise God in a different style. You know, you don't have to look like, you know, all these people who are not Christian. You don't have to even look like them. You don't have to sound like them, but you could still utilize that style. So yeah, I do believe that. I hope for the best.
Likewise. Everyone, please welcome our friend Jakin to the Acknowledge Him podcast. How's it going,
Hello.
Jakin?
It's going pretty good, man. You know, finally, today was my Friday, so I'm ready for my day of rest tomorrow. And yeah, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. Doing good. See, Yofi, we did intros this time.
Yeah, I noticed. I was just like, yeah, how you guys doing? I was like, all right.
We did intros this time. Late into the show. We're about to be out, but we still had time to do intros. I wanted to make sure I was paying attention, but Jacob, have you heard of D1 before I ask you anything about it?
No. So basically, so I'm a big rap fan, like mostly like new age stuff. I listen to mostly like J. Cole and like kind of older like Nos and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I do know what's his name, NF. I think he's like a somewhat Christian rapper. I know he doesn't curse and he doesn't like belittle women or anything like that. Um, and he has actually really interesting music videos. So his music videos, the editing style is very cinematic. It's really, really good. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's definitely worth a watch. Just can't remember the name of his newer one. But it's shot on like an ocean, and just like his transitions are really, really, really good.
You guys send it to me in the chat, in a messenger or something. So, because I may look at that just for art, inspiration. I may not. I don't know if I may like the lyrics, but I don't listen to rap a lot these days. I'm very selective on what rap I listen to.
I
But
mean, he's a good rapper. It's not like your traditional like secular rap. It's more so like motivational, like Christian influenced.
okay, I'll check. I'll see. But long story short, because we're about to close out soon. But D1 is basically a rapper who is, long story short, he is somebody who is not who doesn't need the money for his message, because he's already established himself enough, and a he's also a Harvard professor on top of that.
Okay.
So a Harvard professor, but it's like he is somebody who is, against a lot of the the current state of hip hop, the hypocrisy of hip hop, and how hip hop has selective anger towards a lot of things. But if it was
Hmm.
done, like one example he gave, where hip hop is cool to just, be promiscuous as a man, do what you want to do, but you would be furious if someone was like that to your mother or to your sister or to your aunt.
Yeah.
So he kind of touches on a lot of stuff like that, and it's like he's been challenging a lot, to the part even Joe Budden calls him a clout chaser a lot.
Okay. All right.
So there's quite a few things. There's quite a few things that can go with that, but I just wanted to get your take on a question real fast. Do you think that because someone like this could be on the scale, could go on major podcasts, could go on major mainstream threads, still be himself, and it is still talking about uplifting communities and building them up and building up the children? Do you think that the premise of the topic is he is proof that hip hop is not actually dead? Even though hip hop has been around for 50 years now, as of last year, do you believe that he is actually proof that it actually isn't dead, because what it stood for at the beginning is somewhat living through him?
Mm. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting question because we can look at it from our perspective, which is like we're all millennials, right? For the most part, we're born in the 80s and 90s. So to us, growing up, rap was a certain way. And I mean, it's still like subjected, like it still talked about women and drugs and stuff like that. But today, it's a lot more like blatant towards children, towards like drug use and everything like that. So I think it it can reach like a certain audience. People like us will see him and be like, I think he can give us hope for like what hip hop can be. It can like get back to a certain spot, but moving forward, I mean, we're kind of reached to this point in our world where you know there's almost no going back. You look back on the 1920s, just the way they lived, and then fast forward 100 years, we can never go back. So,
Mm.
like, I think we've reached a point of no return just in our culture. Um, and I don't like where rap is. I think rap has gotten to a point where it actually is bringing, like, it's setting back the young African American because it like gives them an excuse to like act a certain way and talk a certain way, and like it doesn't help the image of African Americans to mainstream media and to people in white suburban America and stuff like that. There should be more like influential leaders like him. They kind of like, or like Locksmith. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a rapper
I
from
know
here in
Locksmith.
California. Yeah, I think he went to Cal Berkeley.
Hmm.
Very well spoken, uh, educated. He deals with issues that mainstream rappers wouldn't touch with like a 10-foot pole because it doesn't sell. Like his records, they don't sell a ton, but like they're like as an art form, his wordplay, his metaphors, and everything like that is better than 99% of mainstream rappers. But unfortunately, that's not what sells this. Like in this day and age, people want um, people want cat in the hat rap is what I call it. Like they rhyme two words and then say it over and over
Whoa.
again.
See, you
Like
got me boiling up. You got me boiling to say a few things. I'm gonna let you finish. I got so many things I want to say because ooh,
no, you can
I got a
go.
lot to say. Okay, I got two things I want to say because okay, this is gonna be fun because now you get y'all see the side of me that I this is a these are conversations I have with my friends who still rap and everything. I have these conversations all the time. Y'all get another side of me in this podcast that's rare. Okay, one I'm gonna say even during the '90s and in the early 2000s, hip hop was still marketed towards children. What time did BET 106 and Park come on? What time did the Basement come on? What time did TRL come on? They all came on at 3 or 4 o'clock. What time were people getting home from school? 3 or 4 o'clock. That wasn't an accident. That was not an accident. They market that to children intentionally. So watch this. What did you see in all those times? You got to see you got to see a whole bunch of imagery as a child that you wouldn't normally see. You would see women dancing a certain way in these videos. And in some videos, you heard from your friends at school, hey, listen, if you watch this channel late at night at 1 o'clock in the morning, they show things that you're not supposed to see. Shout out to BET for that. I'm not gonna even name to call the name what it was. For those who know what BET I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So they always marketed towards children because they knew what children would look up after a certain time. When I say children, and when I say children, I'm saying going to school. Anyone who's going to school under the age of 18. Next, you said like people whose bars. Here's the thing: I have heard spectacular bars from people who have been really good and everything. But here's the thing that I had to talk to about with somebody. You can have the best bars, but here's the problem: if there's not a message attached to those bars that the person you're talking to can understand, it's going to go one ear out the other. It's going to sound nice, and dare I say that is why Lupe Fiasco sometimes is there's a select group that appreciates him, but there's a whole select few that are like lost because if you don't have a thesaurus next to you while you're listening to his raps, you're not going to understand half the things that he's saying. So, and here's the
I
thing,
don't
I
understand what
will.
you're saying even with the thesaurus.
I would even take it further and say if you're rapping in such with intense like metaphors and things of that nature, but it's going over the people's heads, and who is this music for? I would further challenge that person's creating raps more for themselves than for the people, and then they get mad when no one's listening. But your raps didn't start with the people. The rap started with you. You
Well,
didn't
isn't
make
it
something for the.
supposed to be though? Isn't it supposed to be? And this is not necessarily top, but I love this. Aren't you supposed to be expressing who you are? So are you going to now dumb down your lyrics so that you get more of an audience? I'm
Oh no
asking.
no no.
No, this is not my
Also,
job.
isn't like, to me, the best rap is thought provoking. So like when you pause the song and you say, "What did he just say?" Let me replay that real quick, and then you start thinking about it.
Here's the thing. That all that sounds cool, and you should express yourself, but there should be a bridge between expressing yourself and being relatable to what people can understand. People, people matter. So many people express themselves, but just like the music in the '70s, and why so many people have memories to those songs is because by them expressing themselves, there was a sense of relatability. They expressed something that they was going through and painted it in a certain way that they could never say, and that's why it was called art, because by the use of their words they painted a picture of their life and what they was going through like no one has ever had. And that person, that rapper, they was talking about their circumstance, they was talking about what they was going through. It just so happens it related to other people, and that's what the sharing comes into place. But watch this, you're supposed to do that. But if you are using intense metaphors and everything where people are not understanding you, my whole thing is, and this is y'all getting the music producer me coming out. This is the music mentor, music producer me coming out. If you gotta write, if I said there are some songs, let it just be recorded and be in your own tracks. Don't put that out there for the people. If you needed that for you, record that for you. But if you're gonna put it out and put this on a CD, it's no longer just about you anymore. If you're gonna put this out for the purpose of for the purpose for people to purchase, it's no longer just about you at that point.
I'm throwing in the flag. I'm gonna be like Jesus used parables that people didn't understand all the time.
But Jesus would like people to pay him.
Hey, he's eating dinner
Hey,
at your house.
hey,
Hey, I'm eating dinner
they
at your house. That's payment, bro.
and they took their time. He wanted them to listen. Time is money, right?
Yeah, time. I'm trying to put every counter argument on it, bro. I'm just like, no, man. I want to put out everything in a way.
Everyone wants to, but it's
Like,
like this is this is what I like. I said with it, because like I said, I've worked with artists, and I'm like, listen. I said what you're going through. Here's the thing. What you're going through. Here is a fact. I call it. I call it. I'm making up a rule right now, but I call it the rule of a thousand. What you're going through, 1,000 people are going through as well. You just haven't met them
goodness.
yet. But if you what you're going through, 1,000 people are going through it. So if you are going to put this out and you know 1,000 people are going through this, you know what? I want to write this in a way where it's like this impacts me. That if I was to hear this 10 years from now, I was like, ooh, like I don't. You don't want to have an Eminem moment where you write cleaning out my closet, and then years later you regret what you put out about your own mother for everyone to see, and then now you have to write an apology song in headlights in years later.
Yeah.
So these are things that I said. It's like when you're writing these songs, are you thinking about legacy, the legacy of the song, and how long the song can last, and what? Because that's one thing.
When
That's go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you're talking about it, it makes me think of "For Your Eyes Only" by J. Cole.
Hmm.
Like, that is a great album, and it's like it's a piece of art. You listen to it from front to like from the beginning to the end, and it's a great like piece of art. But he doesn't go like too in depth with like the rapping. So it's very like digestible, but it's still like it still has a clear message. It just like, to me, that's one of my favorite albums of all time, and it's not
Hmm.
one of his more popular albums.
I would say one thing about J. Cole, and this is one thing that I will say. J. Cole is a fantastic storyteller. And the thing about content creation, you have to learn how to master the art of storytelling. What story are you telling? And is the story you're telling something that people would want to listen to again? Um, the song that's coming up from my mind from J. Cole is "Let Nas Down." He
Hmm.
talks about how basically how he regrets selling out, and in the
Hmm.
process he let down his favorite artist. He
Hmm.
let down his favorite artist by selling out.
I think that song you're
Ah,
talking about is like Power Trip. It's either Power Trip or something along those. The one of the radio hits from like the like mid 2000s.
yeah. So I can hear a few things when it comes to that. Then again, like I said, I don't listen to modern hip hop or hip hop as much anymore because my I'm on a mission this year, so I don't listen to a lot of different music. But it's like I've heard a lot of rap, like even down to the old Rakim. I listen to a lot of old different people, and so it's like music from the '80s all the way to like the 2010s. I'm very familiar with a lot of that music, and I'm at a place now where I'm like, I can't even listen to this. I can't even listen back to the old songs I used to like. Like
Yeah.
it's like even some of the songs that I thought even I like from Lupe Fiasco, it's like I cringe because I'm like, I can't repeat this. It's like I can't repeat what you're saying. And it's like you go back, but then now that it's like you looking at things from a different perspective, and I really feel as though a lot of us are older. When you're an older millennial, you grow and you get more into your 30s, your mid 30s, you start hearing things differently. You see things from a different perspective. And I didn't know we was gonna get here, but I'll say this while we're here. The unspoken problem, the problem that's going on with hip hop, and actually D1 does talk about this. Hip hop has a major trauma problem that it doesn't talk about. A lot of hip hop is laced in trauma where men have to project themselves a certain way. Men have to be themselves a certain way because we have a lot of toxic beliefs that
Hmm.
derive from hip hop lyrics. Like from Nas, what I used to love Nas's music, but Nas is quoted for saying, "I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death." You're killing yourself by not sleeping enough. You're killing yourself by not getting enough rest. But yet and still, you will have young men thinking that I can't go to sleep. I need to work. I need to work my behind off in order to get this out. Or you would have not not that song. There was someone else that said, "Show no love because love will get you killed." So it's like now you have a lot of men who are unafraid of showing any type of emotion that'll make them look weak because a man in these cases would rather die than to be disrespected.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I mean, you can apply that to a lot of things in just in our
Mhm.
society, like the saying of like no days off, the grind never
Yep.
stops. All of a
Yep.
sudden, like now you're if you
Be
take a
here
day
an
to
hour
yourself,
ago.
all of a sudden you're like
Huh?
lazy. It's like no, I'm not lazy. I'm just even the Lord took a day off. Like,
No, I
but
was saying that you
You're,
needed to be here an hour ago because that's exactly what we were saying, man. I agree 100%.
yeah, and that's where it is. It's like a lot of these toxic things come from the music. A lot of you think like where did they get this message from? They got it from the music, and that's where I have a problem with hip hop now because it's like I had to unlearn a whole bunch of things. There's things that there's attitudes that you bring into your marriage, you bring into your parenthood because that stuff doesn't just fall off because you say you're a Christian now. No, there's some mind
yeah,
renewal stuff and some mind renewal stuff. Some mind renewal stuff you may not know you need mind renewal from it until you're confronted with something that you felt like, yo, I haven't dealt with this.
And I would argue that like the whole I need to do this to be a man and stuff, you're making yourself your own savior.
Man, where were you, Jenkins? We didn't do the beginning of this.
We're at an hour and 16, man. I was just like, I think we need to get into that, but we're at an hour and 16 because that's a really good.
See, Jake, you need to be here for the beginning of this. This it out. That's good. That's good. But Yofi, I want to be respectful. I do want to be respectful because you're out. You're not in your home right now, and you still got to get home. You still
back soon, but I do want to hit you with something before you even do that. I want to go back to that flag that I threw on you about the lyrics. Okay, I want to hit. To me, it is of dire importance. It's not, but I'm going to act like it is. All right. So, I am a little child. I'm like 5 or 6 years old. Okay, and I hear these words. All right. Words like this, and I had to remember it, and I just typed it out so that I could remember it. It says, if the next plane leaves for Dover, tell them don't paint serenity on my face. I want everybody to know what went on here. Don't want no fairy tales about this place. I mean, I'm 6 years old. And he says, I'd like to get into something you might understand. An ocean in teacups, a great big world in little hands. The TV show comes on tonight, but no one gets the station of my quiet desperation. Okay, that's what I'm growing up with. So that's why when you're like, make it relatable, that wasn't relatable to me. I didn't know what Dover was. I had to look this stuff up. I had to ask my mother. I'm like, what is going on? But I grew up with that because that comes straight from Family Stand. That's like my father's band, right? Those are his lyrics. So when your father's writing that kind of stuff, well, actually that was Pete. That was Peter Lord. But it's like I grew up with those types of lyrics. So that's why once again I'm like, not only does this every day I'm hustling not appeal to me, but then the message is about degrading women. It doubly doesn't appeal to me because I'm like, you know what it's like to hear an ocean in teacups when you're like 5 years old? I was like, I had to learn what metaphors were very quickly because of that. So that's why I was just like, I'm throwing the flag, and I'm just like, I know what you're saying though. I'm not coming against it.
But I'm laughing because you see. Here's the thing. That you're hearing lyrics that were written in the 80s, bro, late 80s, super early 90s. You're gonna hear some stuff, especially your background. You're gonna hear some stuff.
Yeah, from Uncle Jeff. He said, tried to kill the snake with my snake, but could not. Had to use my wings. What? I'm like, what is going on? I don't know who Jesus is yet. I'm like, what is going? Like, what does that mean? I had to look it up all the time, and they weren't on drugs. I'm like, what is this? So that's why I'm just like, people today. I was just like, the lyrics. If you're just repeating things with no main message,
he spits those bars at you, and you're like, today I learned what triangles are. I don't. But what you were saying earlier, Yofi, about Jesus speaking parables, even Jesus knew that people are not the brightest bulbs. Remember at the Last Supper? Even at the Last Supper, he's like, I will no longer be with you. And they're like, what do you mean? Where are you going? Can we go with you? And he's like, let me break it down for you nice and slow.
Or how about,
I'm going to die.
Lazarus is not dead, he sleeps. What do you mean Lazarus is sleeping? What do you mean? And then he's like, all right, guys, all right, we got to raise him.
Like he's asleep. Like, all right, you know what? He's dead, okay?
Because you guys are not getting what I'm saying.
He's like,
yo, you know what? Okay, I have to say this before we go. I really want to believe that was a sense of humor moment in the Bible. That was I really do believe that was Jesus having a sense of humor at that part. Like, all right, he's asleep. Well, what do you mean? No, it's true. He's dead.
No, I think he's trying to get a point to them. Like, look, I'm the resurrection, guys. He's just sleeping. As in,
Yeah.
when you go
You're
to
like,
sleep, you
look
get
at
up,
me.
right?
He's gonna get up. He's gonna get
He's
up.
like, yeah.
And
He's like, when you go to sleep, you're gonna wake up, and they're like, but he's dead. All right, no, guys, listen. He's sleeping. You get it? Like, no. All right, he's dead. He's never mind. You guys get it.
and we get
Man.
there like, and we get there. It's like we resurrect. I know we'll see Lazarus at the resurrection and everything, and everyone is crying that he's dead. And you know what it is? Oh, you know, all right. See, now I'm getting biblical with this. They low key quoted Adam. They say if you was here, he would have died. Oh, so it's my fault. He died.
Like, are you gaslighting me right now?
The gaslight.
Oh, it's my fault he died. Okay.
38 AD.
All right. We're gonna stop here. We appreciate all of you all coming. Shout out Yofi, you said you didn't announce that yet. I want to make sure give you room for that.
Well, I'm really getting close to I got the final, or at least I believe the final art. So I should be working on publishing 2 books very soon. I just need to get the money, the last of the money, to the publishing company. So it's going to be a release on the first 11 chapters of Genesis and how it goes directly into the gospel. Like, you can go from Genesis to the gospel and it all relates, everything of which Jesus did. It's a comprehensive book that can be used for home Bible studies. You could use it at your churches. So we're going to be trying to publish that. We're going to go, I'm going to do the electronic copies first because it's about 130 pages, color. So it's not as easy to print off, but we're going to be releasing that hopefully in the next few months. I just want to try and get the money together to do it. And also a novel that I'm working on, part 1 and 2 to this episode is going to be released. Finally got the art on that. So I'm going to be, trying to get it out to everything. So I'm doing a lot over here, and I just really appreciate, any of the support that people are going to give you. I'll keep everybody posted on where they can get it once it's released.
Definitely. I'm gonna start having your channel in the description because I dropped the ball on that tonight, so forgive me for that.
Yeah, if you like anime, you're gonna love the novel. If you like good storytelling, and characterization, you're really going to love it. Especially, it's not marketed directly to Christians, but if you are a Christian, you're definitely gonna love it. And if you're not a Christian, you're gonna like it anyway. And as far as the Bible study tool, I want every church to try and get this. I'm not trying to make, oodles and oodles of profit off of it, but I really want people to just know how, because when Jesus said things, a lot of churches do not understand, why Jesus did this. Why did Jesus transfigure himself? What does it mean? Was he talking to Moses? All of these things matter. And, what does it mean when he says, upon this rock, I will build my church? All of that goes right back to Genesis. So I really wanted to really get that out comprehensive so that you could do a Bible study. I'll be releasing more details as time goes on.
Perfect. Jakin.
I was going to say, I also will be releasing a book. It's going to be reviews of his books. You can expect it about 6 months after his release.
This is what I love about brother Jakin. Like the way you sold that. Like,
I'm ready to buy it.
That,
I'm like, how do I buy it and not even knowing what it was about?
It will not be. I will not be kind in it. I will be cutthroat.
You sold that like how to
publicity, bro.
Yo, he sold that like how The Rock sells the stunners. Oh man. But I appreciate you all. We're gonna get on out of here. We'll be here tomorrow for the Bible study and probably in Genesis tomorrow. And then after that, we'll be back on Monday. Quick announcement: on Monday we'll be streaming for the live stream channel only, and we'll go from there. So that being said, we are going to do this the right way and bring up the banner. If you all like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and
Most of all.
most of all, you make sure you share this with a friend. This is Avedon, Yofi Smith, and Jakin, and we are out. Peace, y'all.